Yeah, I'm gonna check and see if I can see anyone. So we'll wait a little bit because I think no one joined yet. So I might have not configured this right. Let me check live streams. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be live. So let me share the link. Is anyone here? Not yet. Okay. So just, yes, it's working. I'm the only one here though. So here is the link. So let's see if anyone joins. So I'll just wait a bit to see if someone joins because I somehow didn't publish it beforehand, so I didn't make a big announcement because I thought, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna manage this whole technological thing. Some of you might know I'm not the most technological person, but now I see we have 3 viewers already. So maybe you guys can write something in the chat in case you have any questions. Yeah, I think next time I will just announce it properly. So yeah, but I think some people are joining. Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. And yeah, it's my first time live on this channel, somehow on my own. Like I've been on lives before, but just creating it myself and just talking on my own. It's the first time. So I'm glad you guys are joining. Thank you. And today we're actually celebrating. Oh, hello. So see, I can also show your messages here. Hello, hello, Savi. Great to see you. So yeah, I've prepared. Carmeta's also here. Hi. So I've prepared some questions because I really didn't know what to expect with this live. But yeah, I want to go out of my comfort zone, so I figured why not do a live session? And I think if you guys are interacting, it will be very interesting. And if not, it will be a learning for the future. So yeah, so happy to have you guys here. We said, like, I asked you guys if you wanted like a multilingual Q&A or just English, and most of you said multilingual. So I have questions in different languages that I personally speak, and then you guys can also ask questions in the comment section. So yeah, I guess I'll start with some of the questions that I have. So, and yeah, first of all, as always, thanks a lot to my Patreons and Ko-Fi supporters, and also you watching from home, even if you're not like paying any subscription or anything. It's always great to see all of you. I'm always very happy with your comments, and it's always super exciting to get your feedback. So yeah, and because it's a Q&A, so you can send your questions in the chat. And I will be checking now and then, and yeah, I'll just pick up some question. Like I have a few questions that yeah, I can randomly choose. I see there's some chat. Oh, Nihar, hi. Yeah, live. I didn't make a huge announcement. Maybe this was a mistake, but I just didn't know if it was gonna work. And it seems to be working. You guys seem to be receiving everything. So yeah, I'll just, I guess, start with a question that I prepared. So the first question being in Spanish, ¿qué haces para no olvidar el inglés? So what do you do not to forget English? I will answer in Spanish and then just give you a quick summary in English. So, a ver, ¿qué hago para no olvidar el inglés? Bueno, el inglés lo uso a diario, así que es una de esas lenguas que realmente me resultaría muy difícil olvidar porque o sea, realmente en mi trabajo uso el inglés, me encanta la música en inglés, en mi canal recibo mensajes en inglés, etcétera, ¿no? Entonces, una lengua que realmente en ese sentido no olvido porque es una lengua que uso a diario. Y yo creo que esa es la clave, usar a diario, porque hay otras lenguas como por ejemplo el sueco o el italiano, el ruso, no las uso a diario y las he olvidado un poco. So in a nutshell, basically, languages like English, I use them almost every day, like German, English, Spanish, Catalan, French. I almost use them every day, so I don't forget them that much. I might, have a better day with my accent, worse day. That can always happen. But yeah, so basically, it's one of those languages because I use them every day, I don't forget them. And it's not the same with other languages, such as Russian, Swedish, or Italian, which I unfortunately sometimes forget a bit because I use them less. Yeah. We have a little chat. I'm going to check the chat. So everyone's saying hello. Hi, guys. Francisco also. Hello, Francisco. Cool that you're here. So thanks a lot, guys. So I'll just, keep choosing random questions I got already, but I'll be checking the chat every now and then to see if you guys have anything else. I think a very interesting question that came was in Catalan. So el que va sobre l'oblit de la llengua materna m'interessa especialment. So what does this mean? So I was actually asking you guys, so what are the questions that would be interesting? And one of them I thought of was forgetting your own mother tongue. So I'm going to answer this in Catalan and just give you like a quick summary in English. Pots oblidar la teva llengua materna? Jo penso que sí, o sigui, tinc aquesta experiència de fet perquè, o sigui, no t'oblides 100% de la llengua si la fas servir cada dia o gairebé cada dia o si la continues fent servir, però sí que pot passar, desgraciadament, que oblidis una mica la teva llengua materna. O sigui, a vegades pot passar que hi hagi paraules que no recordes, que hi hagi expressions que les dius malament. Sí, o sigui, una part teva pot ser que oblidi la llengua materna. De fet, hi ha casos de gent que ha viscut 20 anys en un lloc, se'n va a viure a un altre lloc i no fa servir mai més la llengua materna i l'oblida. O sigui que això sí que és possible realment i és trist. A mi sempre em fa molta ràbia, per això intento utilitzar la llengua per no oblidar-la, però sempre pot passar que diguis alguna bestiesa també, que diguis coses que dius: "Ai, Déu meu, ara això per què ho he dit?" I és per influència, per exemple, de l'alemany. So, in a nutshell, yeah, you can actually forget your mother tongue. To which degree will depend basically on how often you use it. So, in my case, I think because I use Catalan very often, I haven't forgotten it so much. The same with Spanish, but I do forget words here and there and expressions, and it does frustrate me a lot. So, I try not to forget those languages, but because my daily life is like, I would say 80% in German, I think it's only natural that my brain goes like, I don't need this, and forget some words. So yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. Yeah. So, en Ricard, que acaba d'entrar. Hola, Ricard. Ai, espera't. Això. Suposo que tens un treball molt lligat a usar una gran quantitat de llengües. Bona pregunta, Ricard. So Ricard wants to know if I have a job that is like linked to using lots of languages. I'll answer in Catalan and then just sum it up in English. Sí, bàsicament, per casualitat, o sigui, jo quan vaig buscar la feina en la qual estic treballant, era una feina en 3 llengües. Era una feina en anglès, en alemany i en castellà, que ja crec que és una cosa potser poc habitual, però al cap d'un temps em van demanar si volia també ocupar-me de la feina amb els clients francesos, en francès. Llavors la feina que tinc ha anat canviant al llarg dels últims anys. He canviat de departament, etcètera, però sempre s'ha mantingut aquest fet de tenir una feina multilingüe en 4 idiomes i de vegades també català, o sigui 5. Sí, i sí. So basically, yeah, I have a multilingual job, which involves like 4 languages every day. And one thing I would like to add, I sometimes also like look for opportunities at my job to speak other languages. So I created like a Russian lunch club, kind of like a Russian lunch once a month. Then we had an Italian lunch once a month, etc. So even though I did not use those languages at my job, I would actually use them during the lunch break once a month, which is not much, but it got me to connect with people I normally didn't have any interaction with. So that was interesting, and also like practice languages. That was pretty cool. Sí. So en Nihar està d'acord amb això, que el cervell veu el que necessita i si portem molt de temps sense parlar la nostra llengua, empitjora, desgraciadament, sí. So it is true. So I'm not the only one. And I think that's also like I'm not the only one forgetting a bit my mother tongue. And I think it's important to talk about this because, sometimes, so that's why I like Couch Polyglot, because sometimes the world can be so fake, like everyone pretending to speak perfectly and look at me, look at how cool I am. And I think being vulnerable and being like real is better, because if everyone's pretending to like not be forgetting like anything in their mother tongue, and I'm like the only one who feels that way, it feels like there's something wrong with me. But if we just admit that we're all human and this is something that happens in certain circumstances, and we all feel like, okay, like I'm not the weird one, like it's something that can actually happen. Yeah. So, and Francisco diu que, yeah, look, so I'm already changing. So thank you. I think I have like a very real accent. So my accent is still like of a native speaker, but sometimes I do feel like, oh my God, how do I say this? How do I say that? And that's why I'm also so happy to have my Catalan podcast. By the way, I will also have a Q&A on my Catalan podcast on Wednesday. It won't go live, but I already recorded it, and so I think it will be really cool. So if you guys are learning Catalan, then you'll have more Catalan there. John is also here. Hi, John. And from Willy, super, felicidades, felicitats, moltes gràcies, muchas gracias. Sí, molt bé. Doncs so you see, I'm already starting to switch. So I'm liking this live experience, very cool. Thanks a lot to you guys for joining. So maybe we can talk about top 5 tools for language learning, which I would not want it to just be me, because I think it depends on you, right? Like everyone's different. But for me, as you know, I'm a huge, huge fan of podcasts. So I love podcasts and videos, but whenever I'm using a video for language learning, I normally am not watching, actually, I'm just listening. So I actually use videos as a sort of podcast. So I might be cooking or taking a walk and just have a video on the background, but just actually listening to it. And what I like about like these tools so much is I feel like I'm a productivity freak. I really love productivity hacks and like trying to make the most of my time and stuff like that. And so I really also want to move a lot. So I go for a walk twice a day for like maybe 30 minutes. And sometimes I just walk and do nothing or just listen to music. But sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe it's a good moment to listen to a Russian podcast or Swedish podcast or whatever I feel like listening to. And it's like, I think you can say that like killing a bird with, no, I don't remember that expression. So these things does happen. Like, is it not like killing two birds with one stone or something? I don't know. Or just mixing it up maybe. So I'm not sure, but whatever. So it's like I'm moving, which is something I want to do, and at the same time I'm learning a language. So that's like tool number one. I don't know what's your tool number one. But then I guess different tools. I mean, I like taking online classes. Like, this is not sponsored, but I've been using italki for years. I used to be an italki teacher, and I really like it, but it's not the only one. There are many platforms out there. And so I think the second tool would either be like taking lessons or like looking for a tandem. And a tandem has the advantage that is for free. I also have, right now, I have a tandem in Italian. And I recently started a tandem in Swedish, but only like every 2 weeks. So Swedish Catalan, which is pretty cool. So that would be the second tool. And then there are other things you can do, really, but those are like the most useful tools in my eyes. Then there are things that are not necessarily tools, but you can use your own imagination, in the sense that you can talk to yourself, you can practice certain situations before facing them in real life. I think this is not really a tool, but I mean, okay, your voice, your imagination, I guess, is a tool too, and things like that. I'm not a big fan of things like Duolingo or stuff like that, but if it works for you, you do you, right? So I'm not against them in any way. I just don't use them so much. It's more like a game, something that I might use like here and there, but not, I don't take it that seriously as a tool, to be honest. And I don't know, sometimes taking classes can also be like physical classes. Like online schools are great. I think they give you a lot of flexibility, but sometimes like going and taking like a course somewhere, you have more of the real thing, interacting with the teacher in real life. So I mean, it both have advantages and disadvantages, but to me it feels like also an interesting way to learn. And of course, if you like reading, so I think there are many tools, like books like Asimil. Like, this is not sponsored again, but I find Asimil quite interesting as a concept, because you start from A1 texts and you build it up to B2, and it's just like one text at a time. And I'm not that into translation, so you have both texts, like the original, like the language you're learning, and the translated one. And I'm not that much into translation, but I think that even though I'm a translator, that's what I studied. But I mean, I prefer just reading the original one. But sometimes, if you're at the beginning, it can help for sure. So reading adapted material for sure is a good option as well. And yeah, writing your own diary in the language you're learning, so that's a good one too. Or having like a pen pal, someone to write with. So that would be like a tandem, but in like written form, for those of you who are like maybe more shy. Or it's not only if you're shy, like if you're, yeah, sometimes it's difficult to find the time, so just doing a tandem in a written form, like a pen pal, can be like a good option. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Feel free to write me in the comments, like, what are your favorite tools. And like I said, it's just a very individual thing, and in my eyes there's like no right or wrong. Some people love Anki, or like, Anki, if you don't know it, like this flashcard system, which for me is boring, to be honest, but it does work, I guess, for some people. So, and I also don't like these long vocabulary lists. I don't like that. But if you like them, you do you, right? So yeah. Someone joined. Emilian, hello, good to have you here. So yeah, I think we got a message. Yeah, we have a new question from Ricard Julia. Being a Catalan Spanish speaker, which are the main tips to start learning a language which differs a lot from the Romanic languages? So for me, like, the hardest language I've learned, like you mentioned, is Russian. And okay, I love the comprehensible input method, but like I've said many times, it needs to be comprehensible. And if I had started Russian with podcasts like uh, Russian Progress or Russian with Max, I would have been really frustrated, because those podcasts and YouTube channel, they are tailored for B1 students. So if you have no knowledge at all, it's not actually comprehensible input, it's incomprehensible. So it's not very useful in my eyes. Of course, it can help you like see, okay, what's the rhythm of the language, and yeah, things like that, or how does it sound like, and here and there you might hear a word that is similar, because yeah, Russian does have some words that come from Latin. I don't know if it's like through French, or like historically, I haven't researched into it, but there are things, I don't know, like informatia is like information, so you might hear some words here and there. But I think the best way is to start taking classes, because the more of a beginner you are, the more you need guidance. And I don't see teachers as someone teaching me the language. It's more like, hey, they are giving me the tools, the knowledge, and the guidance to help me go through this path, um, which if I do on my own is gonna take me a lot longer. So I think, yeah, basically, I would say that in my eyes, if you need a language which is very different, you shouldn't be that stubborn and be like, I will make it on my own. It just always also depends on, okay, how fast you want to learn it, how bad you need it. But if you need it really bad, and also like work related, and it's important to get there faster, just get someone to guide you. And at the same time, don't be like, oh, I'm going to class, they'll teach me. No, they will guide you, but you need to put in the time and work, and you need to put the intention and also create the habits outside of class. I think, I don't know, like I'm just making it up, but I would say you need to put in like 60%, 80%, and like the teacher guiding you is giving you the 20% or something. But it's a very important 20%, because if you would be on your own, you're just maybe taking the completely wrong path and no one is telling you. So, you do need the basics, I think. And then at some point when you're like more independent, like at least an A1 level, you can start like doing things on your own. But in my case, for instance, for Russian, I'm still taking classes. It's mostly like a tandem, so it's mostly just speaking to the teacher, but at the same time it just forces me to to being in yeah, to be learning. Because if I'm on my own, I think that's a problem too. So if you're on your own and maybe you have many things to do and you're like, well, learning Russian is one of my tasks, one of the things that I'm doing, but at the same time, you don't have any deadline or anything. So I think also taking classes or having a tandem, it gives you some sort of structure and some sort of time frame when to learn, when to study. And that can help you, because right now in Russian, I sometimes I don't do anything except taking that class once a week or once every 10 days. So that helps me in this case. And on the other hand, if it's like an easier language, I don't struggle that much with it. So even in Italian, I have learned Italian for a lot shorter period than Russian. And of course, my Italian is probably a lot better than my Russian, especially understanding, but also, because the grammar is so similar, the vocabulary as well. I'm sure maybe I even like express myself better in Italian than in Russian, even though the time I spent on both of them is like has nothing, like it's not comparable, right? So so I guess, if the more distance the language is, I think the more guidance and help you will need, and the more you need to be consistent. Because I think like Italian is very forgiving. When I've spent weeks not speaking it, not doing anything, it's quite forgiving. But a language like Russian is less forgiving. And I could imagine that if I learned Chinese or Japanese or some language that is very exotic for me, it would be even less forgiving. So I would, in that sense, if I would stop using it, like it would be easier to forget it. So I don't know, but yeah, I gave like a huge explanation. I hope it was interesting. Yeah. So Nihar is saying writing is great. What writing also does is it helps structures our thoughts. So next time you actually talk about the same topic, you'll feel and sound very eloquent. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why also, yeah, it might be a good idea, even like when you're preparing for an interview or something like that, writing down your thoughts, and practicing out loud. Yeah, the writing part helps you figure out actually what you think sometimes. Like sometimes it's like this moment where you take the time to just put down your thoughts. It just helps a lot. Yeah. So Nihar is asking, after reaching a certain minimum level, do you feel very structured courses inhibit one's creativity and the joy of learning? The thing with the courses, sometimes it just depends a lot on where you are. Like, where are you learning? What was the type of like methodology? How's the teacher? And so on. I mean, I think you will somehow feel it if it's like frustrating you, maybe it's time to quit. I don't know. And it will depend on many, many factors. And I guess it just depends on many factors. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but yeah, very structured courses sounds to me, I don't know if you mean like a lot of grammar, a lot of vocabulary, a lot of learning by heart, because those are things I don't like at all. But if it's very structured in the sense that you're, yeah, you're given some sort of freedom in that structure, like, okay, today we're going to learn how to communicate in a certain situation, like, I don't know, opening a bank account or whatever, right? It doesn't leave much freedom of creativity, but still you could, you're still free. But if it's like, okay, repeat this, write all these sentences, or just put in whatever verb form it's supposed to be. It just depends. I think if you're already a little bit advanced and the course you're going to frustrates you, just leave. I would say, if you're able to leave, because it's not serving you. But I think we also should avoid this, well, kind of victim mentality of, oh, the course is so bad that I'm not learning anything. Well, then maybe the course is bad, then don't go there, or just finish it and don't start it. But what can you do that's on your hand to manage that? Like, what are the things, if you're passionate about the language, what are the things that you can do outside of class to compensate that? Yeah. um so perfect. So yeah, Nihar is saying very mechanical courses. Yeah, I think intensive courses, I don't know how you guys feel about them, but I love them. I know, like, I sometimes dream of being able to, let's say I have 2 months off and I'm taking like a whole month to go on like an intensive Japanese course or something. And just, I think it would be so cool, because I personally feel frustrated about slow progress. So of course, if you're like learning Japanese, it will take a long time anyway. But let's say if you're just taking one class a week for 1 hour, it will take forever. But if you're taking like an intensive course that takes you from at least to be able to communicate a little bit, I know it won't be much, but I think that would be something I personally would be very excited about. But I think not everyone feels the same about courses. Some people don't like them. I like the comprehensible input method and everything, because it leaves you lots of freedom and so on. But I also actually enjoy taking courses if everything, like, the teacher is good and etc., right? It's not all courses are equal, but some of them are really, really cool. So let's see some other questions. Hola, Felicius Quatranch. I heard that you don't like italki. Why? What was your experience with the site? I actually, maybe you mean Duolingo, because I actually like italki. I used to teach at italki, and I have been using it for 8 years or 7 years already. So I do like it a lot. I mean, the thing is, if you've had a bad experience on italki, it's the same I was just mentioning. It's going to be maybe a bad experience with this specific tutor or specific teacher. But I haven't had a bad experience at italki. I actually tried out different teachers and different languages, and I really actually really like it. And I think it has been like a type of learning that has been hyped a lot in the last years. But I was using it before anyone. Well, I don't want to say anyone, but like, a lot of people were shocked when I started telling them that I was learning by using italki like 8 years ago. It wasn't a big deal back then. So people are like, wow, so you have your teacher online? And this all started because I moved to a new place, and it just was very difficult for me to find Russian classes that were not too far away, etc. And I also had bad experiences with with some schools. So because I don't know if I was like, I wasn't lucky or anything, but I felt that at least the Russian classes I had attended, they were really very focused on grammar. And you guys know I don't like that so much, like so explicit, just grammar, grammar, grammar. It's not my thing. So I feel like italki leaves you, or not only italki, there are like thousand, I guess, several platforms you can choose. But like, finding an online tutor, it just gives you more freedom to focus on what you want. For some people it might be too much freedom if you don't know what you need, but like, as an advanced language learner, I guess it's like the best. But it's just, yeah, my experience. So yeah. So what else are we having here? Off the back of that, which variety of Portuguese? Oh, sorry. So off the back of that, which variety of Portuguese do you understand better in its spoken form? Oh, that's a difficult one. I think probably Portuguese from Portugal. I don't know. I think so. I think so. People tell me a lot that, like, the accent is more similar to Catalan, so maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I feel like the vowels are very similar, and I just always need with Portuguese. I just need a few minutes until my brain clicks, and then I'm like, oh, I understand everything. But it also depends on the context and everything, right? But if it's not spoken super fast, I understand it quite well. But yeah, I think the one from Portugal more. So yeah. Someone is coming before their italki lesson. Cool, cool. Then have fun. So so Nihar is asking, how would you describe your personality in your different languages, assuming you feel different? Yeah. Well, the funny part, I don't know, like, I think I'm more extrovert maybe in Italian. And in German, I'm like a little bit more serious. Actually, some people told me that on my channel, that I'm like more rational when I'm speaking German. So yeah, the personality does change a bit, I guess. But like, I don't know. I do feel a bit different. I guess in each language. I guess I use French only for job related reasons, so it does feel like a very formal language to me. I also always use the vous form, so it's more of a formal, serious language to me, at least right now. And German has all this spectrum of being also my language at home, and being the language at my job, and like with many friends, so it has all the kind of spectrum. But I do notice that some things do affect you, like you know um in German we have this thing where, like, you it's different from English, where if you're excited you'd be like, oh, this was amazing, it was perfect, I loved it. And in German you'd be like, passt schon, ja, war nicht schlecht. So there's like, it's when you like something, you don't say, wow, it's amazing, you say, well, it's not bad, or it's okay, so it's like, it does affect you, I guess, a bit. So, and so I guess being a bit more serious, a bit less excited sometimes. So yeah, it does affect you. Yeah. So yeah, actually I teach in italki. Oh, that's cool. That's why I was interested. Yes, I also don't like Duolingo. I mean, it can be, I think there are ways to use Duolingo in a very, very useful way. For instance, like you get a sentence, and you start talking about it with yourself in that language, or stuff like that. Or you listen to a dialogue, and first you listen to it without reading, then you read it, and then you maybe write a text about it. But I think you need to do some extra work, and not just the passive translating or choosing words. I think also the problem with Duolingo is that it can trap you into thinking that you're actually practicing, when in reality I've seen a lot of people who have no progress with Duolingo, but they still keep using it. And I think that's the danger of it. Just, feeling like you've done something, and you did, but it didn't really impact your level much, but it just tricks you into thinking that you're making progress. I think that's the danger of it. Yeah. So also, Nihar says someone told him he sounds bored in German. Yeah, it does affect you. It does affect you. It's true. So maybe I can choose another question I got. So I'd like to hear something about the channel itself, and how easily you find combining being a YouTuber podcaster with learning languages, not to mention the day job. So the question was longer, but I cut it a bit so that it's not like taking the whole screen. But I think it might be an interesting question. So basically, I started my YouTube channel just one day I woke up and I thought, well, I was frustrated with the pandemic. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I felt like, oh, I need to do something to have some sort of hobby or just something positive in my life. Because when the pandemic started, it was all very negative. We were all working from home, at least people I knew. And it wasn't clear what was going to happen really, so it was quite scary. And I thought, well, I need a new hobby. Also, you couldn't, with meet with friends there. I love traveling, and there were so many things I couldn't do that I felt like, let's do something new. And what was actually very interesting is that during the year of the pandemic, I did some collaborations with other small YouTubers, and it was a good way to meet people online. And I also really liked, and also of course still like, that we have a community and this whole interaction. It's something like I had always used the internet as a user, in the sense of, okay, I'm going to order something, or but I hadn't really used this magic of the internet to really connect with other people. And I think that's something that was a door that I opened through my channel, and through, yeah, meeting you guys, and creating content about my passion, which is language learning. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And how easy I find to combine it with a job, and everything. Well, like I said, I think you need to be a bit of a productivity freak to make it work, or like have lots of free time. So I do a bit of both. So I actually practice all my languages in my job, and I work 4 days a week. So I have time for my YouTube channel, because on Fridays I don't work, and I also have time for my own life. And language learning is integrated into my job in a way, so that makes it easy, or easier, to kind of make sure that I practice all my languages. But yeah, sometimes I do forget some. Like, I have one class a week of Russian, then my tandem in Italian once a week, and now my tandem in Swedish every 2 weeks. It's not much, but sometimes you gotta choose, right? But I think you need to combine it in such a way. And for me, it's still important to have a life outside of my job, outside of YouTube, because first of all, it's not healthy to just be doing one thing, but also I need to make sure that, yeah, that my life is not only online, right? Because my job is also with my computer, then YouTube, and I need to just go out and actually meet people and talk to people. So not just on the internet, which is cool too. But yeah, yeah. I hope I answered this question. Let's see. Um, so Alex is asking. So what will be your next language to learn? Well, trying to learn Schweizerdeutsch. Ich lerne Schweizerdeutsch, aber ich kann noch nicht reden. Ich kann verstehen viel, aber reden ist noch schwer. So I'm trying to learn Swiss German. So I guess, I don't know. Well, it does count, I guess, but this is something I'm trying to learn. And my frustration right now is that I really want to practice Swedish, and I have to learn Swiss German. And sometimes I mix them up in my head. I understand Swedish pretty well, so I listen to a podcast that is like a B1, and my understanding is like B1. My expression is probably now down to A1. It got worse. And I guess my understanding of Swiss German is like A1, A1, A2. It's difficult to say, because I'll have like moments where I randomly understand nothing, and then I understand everything, and I feel like, yeah, it's working well. It just, I don't know. I feel like when there's context, it's easy to follow. I have some friends I met here, and I tell them, hey, let's, not all the time, but at like time, let's like talk in Swiss German for 20 minutes. And right now I'm at the phase where I will listen to them talk to me in Swiss German, and I will answer in standard German, which is probably a bad thing. But I haven't made the switch to starting to talk, because sometimes when I start to talk, I'll just mix German and Swedish. That's weird, but yeah. So we will see. And so long story short, I'm not planning to learn any new language right now, because it's already a little. I wouldn't say it's too much, but I think I also need time for other stuff. So no, I'm not planning on learning any new language. So oh, that's cool. So Alex says he loves my Catalan content. That's very cool. Nihar is asking, apart from YouTube, have you ever taken up a new hobby in a foreign language with the aim of also improving? That's a very interesting question. I once had, I wanted to really do like, I don't know, in German it's called Impro-Theater, like improvisation theater, or like just, acting, but like improvising. And that was a bit of a fail because I attended this course and I was the only non-native. That was like 10 years ago. And I found it really like a struggle to improvise in a language I wasn't that good at with natives, everyone watching you. That was too much back then. Like I wish I could tell you it worked, but it didn't really work. But you can do stuff like, for instance, of course, it was easy for me. I was living in Berlin, so I would just go to Zumba classes in German. And you also, you learn some words, but the main point is going and exercising. So I think this is a great way also to learn languages, just by doing activities you feel like doing. Just join a hiking group or something like that. It's a great way. Yeah. So, Francesco, ciao. Ciao Laura, come stai? Spero bene. Un abbraccione Barcellona. Francesco, ci conosciamo perché siamo su HyPia, Hyper Polyglot Community. E abbiamo fatto anche un video insieme in catalano. Francesco parla benissimamente il catalano, è incredibile perché lui parla senza accento parli benissimo Francesco, sì. E abbiamo fatto un video, 2 video anche sul tuo progetto con i dialetti d'Italia, eccetera. Però sì, sono molto contenta di vederti qui. Ciao. Sì, so I also got some practice. You answered my question very well. Thanks. Cool, cool, Martin. I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah. Um, mhm. Yeah, and Nikhar is asking, yeah, if Swedish and Swiss German sound similar. They do. That's why my brain is like, huh, I know this. They do sound similar sometimes, and also kind of the way their rhythm a bit. I think their rhythm can be a bit similar too. So yeah. So someone was actually also already asking beforehand about the future of language learning. I mean, I think like most people, I don't know. I'm a bit afraid, like not just regarding language learning. I don't want to like cause panic or anything. I'm like, it's all changing so fast. I don't know what to say. Like, I think it's gonna change for sure. I hope that the humanness of language learning will stay intact. This is my hope. Maybe I'm old school, but I don't want to have like an AI teacher. I want to be talking to a real person with their flaws and everything. I don't want to be talking to an AI generated person. But maybe it's just me being old school. One thing that could be really, really cool is virtual reality. So just also kind of, simulating traveling, you're just maybe speaking to your teacher and you're not just like seeing your teacher here like on the screen. You're both walking through, I don't know, you're studying Italian and you're walking in Rome together and she's telling you about the monuments from Rome, stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. So you still have this humanness, this human connection, and you're making the most out of technology. That's how I wouldn't say that's how I think it will be. That's how I want it to be. Like make the most out of technology so that that it's more fun and it's connecting us more. But I just certainly hope that the humanness of the language learning process stays intact if possible. There will be things like, of course, you can have like an AI friend, quote unquote, you write with. So maybe that's a good idea because yeah, that it's someone who's always available and so on. But like, it should be a compliment. It shouldn't be everything you use to learn. Like you can do whatever you want, but like how I feel about it, I prefer to have this humanness of it. Or like, I don't want to read a book, or I don't want everything to be connected to the AI. I want to know, okay, I'm reading a book, this is the author, this is their life, they have a real life, I connect to that, so I hope there's like at least some humanness to it in the future. But I don't know what will happen. It's changing so fast, so we will see. What I really hope that like I really hope not to happen is this chip thing, like I don't want people just putting a chip on their head and learning a language. I think the beauty of it, like maybe because we put so much effort into it already, but I feel like, I don't know, there's a beauty of the process of learning. And if you could learn just not languages, just anything by implanting a chip on your head, like what's the point? um I don't know, it would be also very unfair, right? Because I guess the wealthier people would just implant their knowledge on their head, and like other people wouldn't be able to access it, so it would make it even more unfair. So I don't know, like I just hope it doesn't get too crazy, but we will see what happens. So yeah. Then a question's coming. Do you remember how long it took you to understand German, to feel comfortable listening to native content and understand most of it? Well, I would say I had a privileged situation when studying German. I didn't need it at all. I just started learning it. That was when I started studying at university. At the same time, I started taking German classes at the EOI. It's like a Escuela Oficial de Idiomas. Like it's I think it's a public school, from like language school in Barcelona. And when I started it, it was a hobby. So I didn't have any pressure to start feeling like I was in understanding. So I took the A1 course, and then I had like someone told me about a actually very cheap course in Berlin for a month, like a summer course. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. I'll go to Berlin. I'll live there for a month. My first experience in Germany. And I remember that my German was extremely bad because I was A1. But what I did is I told everyone that I didn't speak English. So I forced people to, like, that's also a tool, forcing, not, it's maybe a bad word, but just using some sort of people, like, this sounds weird, so using real life situations to learn the language. So I would go everywhere, and people would notice that I had a terrible accent and that my way of expressing myself was horrible, so they would switch to English, and I would just say, ich spreche kein English. And then they'd be like, oh man, now I have to like speak to her with her broken German. And that had helped me a lot. And then I just actually, when I finished university, I already had reached the B2 officially. And then I moved to Hamburg, where I took like several tandems. I had lots of free time because it was some sort of special program I got into, some sort of grant. It's called no, how is it called? Fremdsprachenassistenz. So you're basically helping out at schools. So I was helping out at Spanish class at schools, but it was only 9 hours a week. And it, like, for a student, like, I was living in a student residency, so I didn't need much money. So it gave me enough money to survive. And I was doing lots of stuff to learn German, and like tandems, meeting people, just going to the cinema, or you name it. And yeah, so that helped me a lot. But I guess what helped the most also was watching. At some point, I think I had like an A2 level, and I started watching like SpongeBob and Futurama and shows like that in German, and that helped me a lot too. Yeah. But yeah, so feeling comfortable is difficult to define, I guess. But I guess when you're at A2, you can feel comfortable if they're not speaking too fast, maybe B1. Yeah. I think just having no shame, to be honest, is the best way to go. Just be like, nah, I don't speak English, please talk to me in German. That gives you lots of exposure. So Francesco is learning Japanese, trying to apply the natural method with very easy stuff. Logging in, mostly I'm playing again video game. Oh, yeah. That's really cool. I've also been using video games to learn languages. It's a great idea too. Like, you just, especially if you played them before, you know what's happening. It can be a great idea. Yeah. So exactly. The first time I was in Zurich and people around me spoke Swiss German, I replied in Swedish. Yeah. Yeah, the problem I have here actually is because I speak standard German. When they listen to my accent, they sometimes they switch, sometimes they don't. So sometimes it's like a conversation in like they are speaking Swiss German and I'm replying in standard German and nobody switches, which for me is fine. Like I prefer it. But sometimes when they listen to your accent, they'll just switch to their like Swiss standard German, which is a bit of a pity, but I guess that's like something automatic in them. So yeah, it just depends on the person too. Yeah. Um, so also Nihar, speaking of tech, more and more English words are finding their way into other languages. Do you see this as natural evolution, or do you wish languages could maintain their purity? I mean, if you look at it historically, actually, like English has 40. Like I had a course at when I was studying translations and linguistics, and English has like 40% of vocabulary from French, like due to historical reasons. So it's not like this is a new phenomenon. I guess there needs to be a balance, right? Like we cannot end up just like some people say, like the English, like you in German, you end up just everything you say, you use English words. If the word already exists in German, I feel like it's kind of contaminating the language, but at the same time, yeah, you gotta also acknowledge that, for instance, this is a controversial one, but for instance, I feel like in Catalan, everyone uses the word bueno, coming from like bueno from Spanish. And I know we shouldn't use it, like it's like too obvious, like a Spanish word, but everyone uses it. So I don't know. It's like I think it's about finding the balance. Um, yeah, finding the balance. I don't think there's right or wrong. I think not letting any new words in and just pretending they don't exist. Just I don't know if it's the good way to go. I think like not too much, not like just letting it in, but not get too crazy. Maybe is the way to go. I don't know though. I'm just glad I'm not just the one deciding. Yeah. Cool. And Adrian is saying hello, and this is very useful. Yeah, I'm glad this is useful. That's cool. It's my first time live on my own, so I was a little bit nervous. So let's see how it's going. Yeah. So, and we will see a question in Spanish. And like I said, I will translate it a bit, like after it, just sum it up. Me pregunto sobre sus recursos gratuitos para aprender idiomas y especialmente para el ruso y el sueco. También, en mi opinión, lo más difícil de aprender cualquier idioma es encontrar recursos. So, finding free resources in Swedish and Russian. So, Russian, especially if you see, so voy a contestar en español. Si aprendes el ruso desde el español, hay un curso muy bueno. Si pones en el Google o en cualquier buscador, pones curso gratuito de ruso, hay uno muy bueno que es básico y que creo que te puede servir para empezar. Sí, so there's like a very good course, and I think it's also in English. If you just type in free Russian course, at least in Spanish, I used it, and it was very good to just see the basics. Even though I knew the basics already, but just to revise them, I guess that was really good. Sí, luego en sueco, los podcasts que siempre recomiendo, que son Let's Svenska med Oscar, Simple Swedish Podcast, y luego también está el libro de Asimil, por ejemplo, está bien. cualquier libro adaptado, eso está bien. Lo que pasa es que, claro, un libro ya es de pago, ¿no? Y lo que decíamos antes, pues las clases que puedas tomar online o algún curso o algo así. So yeah, like you guys know I learned Swedish basically with Let's Svenska med Oscar and Simple Swedish Podcast. Both podcasts are great. There's also online you can find adapted news in Swedish. Like if you look it up, like news in Swedish, it's a really good thing. Yeah, yeah. I hope this helped. Let's see if there are any more questions. Um, mm, mm, mm. So, what do I recommend visiting? I like glad you like my strategies in Catalonia besides Barcelona, Girona, and Tarragona. Well, I really like the Costa Brava. You know, you can go to the beach there. There's Camí de Ronda. It's called Camí de Ronda. It's like hike. Well, I wouldn't say hiking maybe, but it's like a trail that goes around the Costa Brava, which is really nice. I mean, Cadaqués is very famous. Maybe I can write it here. I haven't used that, but Cadaqués is very beautiful. Camí de Ronda, which is in Costa Brava. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot to see, I guess. It just depends on what you want, really. Like, there are very beautiful mountains to hike. There are like a lot of biking trails. It just depends on what type of person you are. I'm more of the relaxed kind, so I just go to the beach and love also seafood and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, there are many places to discover. But yeah, those I guess I would. Yeah, La Garrocha is nice too. Thanks, Francesco. Yeah. I mean, you can go, of course, to Montserrat, which is very beautiful. It's also very famous. Sí. But yeah, thanks for the question. So, hola, Laura. So this one is in Catalan, and I'll sum it up after it. Pots parlar una miqueta en català sobre la teva vida de nena en Catalunya i memòries favorites? Sí, sí, quan era petita, vivia a Torelló, que és un poble d'Osona, i una cosa que m'agradava molt, que era la meva passió, era el bàsquet. Jugava a bàsquet i me'n recordo de molts viatges que fèiem els caps de setmana, anàvem a fer un partit de bàsquet amb l'equip i era una mica una aventura, sí. I see. So for instance, I just told about like my experience playing basketball as a kid and teenager, and how we would drive somewhere on the weekends with the team and play. That was fun. Yeah. Què més? Sí, moltes coses. El que passa és que tinc molt mala memòria. Tinc un problema, que tinc mala memòria. Però sí, fer coses amb amics, amb la família. Recordo moments, no sé, festes, també depèn de quin moment, no? Si parlem de quan era petita, o si parlem de quan era adolescent, o quan era, quan sí, 18, 19, 20 anys. Sí, so it depends on when we're talking, like what time frame. As a kid, I don't remember that much, but like I played a lot with my friends, with my cousins. I would go to a place with a friend. They had dogs. I love dogs. I love cats. I would play with them. Also, like not only with the animals, but also with my friends. And yeah, I also remember a lot things that happened at school. Me'n recordo que vam preparar un ball, per exemple, quan era petita, ens van donar una cançó i havíem de preparar un ball i era divertit perquè no sabíem, jo no sé ballar ni en sabia llavors, i sí, o també vaig formar part d'una coral, cantava, quan era petita m'agradava molt cantar. So I was like, I took part, like at school we had to rehearse some sort of dance, or I was also like at the, I don't know how it's called in English, choral choir. I don't know how to pronounce that, but like singing group. That was fun. Yeah. That was a cute question, thanks. Um, mhm, mhm, mhm. Adrián. In Spanish. So, qué bueno que hagas el vivo contestando en varios idiomas. ¿Aprenderías mandarín o hebreo solo con input comprensible? No. Empezaría con un curso básico y yo creo que en el caso del mandarín hasta un nivel bastante alto. Bueno, depende, ¿no? Porque hay material muy, muy básico para usar el input comprensible, pero yo pienso que al principio necesitas ayuda más allá de lo que sería input comprensible. Al principio necesitas a alguien que te guíe. So, like I said before, for language like that, I feel like you would need to take a class or something. You can start with using comprehensible input when it's actually comprehensible, you know. And at the beginning, unless it's extremely adapted, where they're only saying hello and my name is, it's impossible with Mandarin, for instance, right? You need to have the basics. But that's like how I feel about it. See. Nihar, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna sing. I'm not good at singing. I had fun, m'agradava cantar, però no vol dir que canti bé. Són dues coses diferents. It's two different things. Sí. Um, so one more question in English. Of the languages you know and or study, what are the reasons you choose to learn each one of them? Bonus point if you can want to answer some of the reasons. Yeah, okay, bonus points. I love that. Okay, also, Deutsch habe ich zum Beispiel gelernt, weil ich dachte, das wird mir helfen im Leben. Deutsch ist halt eine schwierige Sprache und dann werde ich es halt lernen, wenn ich ein bisschen jünger bin. Ich habe mit 18 angefangen und dann dachte ich, ja, cool. Aber es war halt die Motivation war so beruflich irgendwie nicht wirklich halt, dass ich Lust hatte. Also, ich hatte schon Lust, aber nicht wirklich, weil ich so Deutsch so toll fand. So German, for instance, I didn't like my motivation was to find a job or just I felt like it would be good for me professionally and not really because I was passionate about it. But then I got passionate about it, so it's not a bad thing, I think. Svenska har jag lärt mig för jag har en vän, Alex, som jag har lärt känna här i den kanalen på YouTube och jag har blivit intresserad av svenska när jag har också lyssnat på Lale. Musik kan vara någonting som hjälper dig att bli motiverad. So, for instance, in Swedish, because I was chatting a lot with Alex, who's actually also a patron and follower, who was learning Catalan, I felt like, oh, it would be nice if I would learn some Swedish. And then I discovered the singer Lale. So I think motivation changes and shifts. So maybe it's because of a friend, and then because of the music, and then because you find a show you like. You know, it just can sort of switch. Sempre ho voluto imparare l'italiano, per quello ho deciso di farlo. L'ho fatto all'inizio con il progetto Couch Polyglot. Mi ho detto: "Ah, perché no? Perché no?" Non ha senso in quel momento ho pensato: "Non ha senso imparare l'italiano perché, dimenticherò il francese, dimenticherò il russo", però in quel momento mi ha detto: "Ne ho voglia, lo faccio, va bene." So, like, with Italian, I didn't feel like it was a rational idea. I felt like really it came from passion because I always had wanted to learn Italian. I just always liked how it sounded, and I felt like I want to learn this language. But actually, because I'm a very rational person, sometimes I felt like I will learn it when I'm like retiring or something. Because I will have the time and it will still be easy enough for me to learn it and it will be fun. But at some point I was like, no, I'm gonna learn it now. I feel like it doesn't make sense, but I will do it. Yeah, and maybe ouais, pour le français, je devais le prendre pour mes études parce que moi, j'ai étudié la traduction et j'ai choisi l'anglais et le français. Et le français, moi, je l'ai choisi parce que je pensais qu'il s'agissait d'une langue plus facile, parce qu'il y avait l'option de choisir anglais et allemand et anglais et français. Et dans ces moments-là, je ne parlais pas du tout l'allemand et je parlais un petit peu le français. Je me suis dit: «Bah, ça va être plus facile si je choisis le français», mais pendant beaucoup de temps, mon français était une langue passive dans le sens que je pouvais traduire, lire peut-être écrire un peu, mais pas beaucoup et comprendre, mais je ne pouvais pas parler. C'était une chose très bizarre parce que j'avais un niveau de compréhension très haut, mais je ne pouvais pas m'exprimer, pas du tout. Ça, c'était très bizarre. So, like with French, it was because of my studies. And for a long time, it didn't feel like a language I was very passionate about. It was just a passive language I was good at, but I was not able to speak. So, yeah, maybe that's enough for this question. So, uh, okay. Mm. Oh, someone is liking my live stream. That's cool. I mean, I think maybe I could plan them better, like in the sense, okay, let's maybe you guys can tell me if that's interesting, but like live Catalan class, and then I prepare some material and it just we go through the class together. I think that that is fun for me and like but like having slides right now it's a bit, okay, it's just me answering questions, but if it would be, let's say, a lesson of how to order a coffee in Catalan at a restaurant and or whatever, right? And then just an example, but we would go through different slides. I think that would be interesting too. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Thanks a lot. So in English it's tr- wire, so try. I don't know. Oh, I'm so bad at this because I feel like English sometimes is so tricky. Actually, like I can express myself in English, but it's not intuitive when it comes to to words you don't use very often. Like it's not intuitive at all how to pronounce certain words. So I still sometimes struggle with that. Yeah. Mhm. Vale, alguien pregunta algo en español. ¿Usas subtítulos al principio y si los usas de la lengua meta al castellano o del castellano a la lengua meta? Muchas gracias. En mi opinión, los subtítulos, si son en tu lengua materna o lengua que hablas, no son muy útiles. Lo mejor es, o sea, si por ejemplo estás aprendiendo alemán, ponerte subtítulos en alemán, o sea, en la lengua meta, ponerte los subtítulos. Eso yo creo que es lo mejor, porque cuando usas tu lengua propia, básicamente tu cerebro es un poco vago, ¿no? Y un poco perezoso. Entonces no va a leer, va como, vale, ya lo tengo traducido y no va a intentar entender. Va a ir por el camino fácil. Entonces, mejor en mi opinión y más útil, porque así tienes como, tu cerebro conecta lo hablado con lo escrito. So in my opinion, you need to use the subtitles in the language you're learning, so that your brain is not that lazy and just connects. Because if it's like, let's say you're learning Spanish and you put the subtitles in English, your brain will just be focusing on English, and it won't make that connection. That's my opinion. Yeah. Um, my brother is here. L'Oleguer, moltes gràcies. Amb l'Oleguer també vam fer un vídeo fa temps ja. Si us interessa algun no sé si tindrà temps perquè està molt ocupat, però, si us interessa algun dia podem fer un vídeo en directe amb ell. Oleguer, et vindria de gust? So, maybe like that's my brother, and maybe we have actually made some videos together already. Maybe we can make a live session, that would be cool. Um, mm, mm, mm. So, Francesco says I can play. Oh yeah, I love playing video games. I could do like, yeah, actually, yeah, this how it's called, where you're just playing and talking some random stuff. Yeah. Alex wants a live Catalan class. That's cool. Yeah, and the same for Jim. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I should plan it better because I I didn't know how to share it beforehand so that people know. So, but yeah, that's cool. So maybe I would just grab the last question. And so maybe that one. So there's the last question in Spanish. ¿Dónde te ha gustado más vivir? ¿Ha sido por las personas con las que te relacionaste o por el trabajo que tenías? Me encantó la época que pasé en Hamburgo, pero yo creo que eso fue porque, o sea, acababa de terminar la universidad y como os he comentado antes, tenía un trabajo ideal en el que básicamente trabajaba 9 horas por semana. tenía mucho tiempo libre y tenía tiempo para aprender alemán, conocer a gente. Era como mi primera experiencia fuera durante un año, o sea, sí había estado cuando era más joven en Australia 4 meses, pero en este caso estaba trabajando en Alemania por primera vez, pero empezando poco a poco, sí. Y eso la verdad que me gustó. Entonces sí, so basically, my I think the best part, like time I had abroad was it's difficult to say, right? It's also nice in Switzerland. It was nice when I was living in Munich, etc. I had a nice time in Australia too when I was younger, but when I moved to Hamburg, it was like a very special time for me because I was working for the first time in Germany, but at the same time, only 9 hours a week. So I had lots of times. I had finished my degree. So it was like a year of meeting people, doing stuff, having enough money to survive, and at the same time, a lot of free time. So I don't think it was the city. I mean, the city is nice, but it's so cold there. Like it's really cold. I remember that like the winter is long, so that's something personally I don't find that cool. But on the other hand, I had so much free time. I was able to really, yeah, it was really good. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have any last final questions. Da, 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 da. Oh, someone's it's not my birthday, no. Well, it's the birthday of the channel, I guess. But maybe it's someone else's birthday. I didn't see it. Yeah, my birthday is in November. So yeah. Mm, mm, mm. And Francesco would be down for making a live session. Oh, that would be really cool. We could play a game, but I don't want to do any quizzes. I don't like quizzes. I'm so bad at them. I mean, maybe I could do it because I need to go out of my comfort zone, but still, like, but let's just play some random game. Yeah, maybe not. Why not? Yeah, that would be nice. So, Nicolas is saying felicidades. So I don't know if you guys have any final questions. Um, it was amazing to have you here, and I hope it was interesting. And I'm looking forward to creating new live sessions. If you have ideas, maybe when the video is already published, you can leave a comment down below and say what type of sessions would be interesting because it's fun to do them, and I like interacting with you like this, so it's fun. Uh, yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you liked it. Some people are saying, yeah, they liked it. And thanks a lot to everyone who supports me. Also, thanks, guys, for being, here on this live stream. And I hope to see you very soon at the channel. And don't forget that I will have my special 4 years um, on the Catalan podcast. So, si estàs aprenent català, el podcast de català sortirà el dimecres que ve, sortirà l'episodi especial, que hi ha hagut que són les preguntes de Nihar, que em va enviar. Gràcies, Nihar. Seràs el protagonista del pròxim episodi del podcast. So, if you guys are learning Catalan, on Wednesday we will have the special episode with questions from Nihar, which I found very interesting. So, yeah, and congratulazioni ancora Laura, ci sentiamo, organizziamo qualcosa. Sì, assolutamente sì. Perfect, guys. Have a nice evening, and I hope it's a holiday for you too tomorrow. I am not working tomorrow. And if you're working, have a nice working week, or still now have a nice evening. Bye bye.